Hey, this is Chuck Marshall from Wani, and I'm talking to Dave Ellefson from Megadeth. Dave, how are you?
Hey, Chuck. Good morning, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Hey, I need to start off with a thank you. You've given me the trifecta of things I love: metal music, coffee, and craft beer. So awesome.
We got you covered, man.
Yeah. So you got the Urban Legend Coffee Stout coming out with Hydra Brewing Company. And you also have the Combat Blood and Bullets Cabernet and the Combat Hard Cider from Desert Rock Winery. Now, I know that you don't drink alcohol, so what led you to branching out from the coffee line into the craft beer, wine, and ciders?
Well, yeah, you're right. My real passion in the beverage business is coffee. In fact, really the three things I drink a lot of water, partly because I live here in Arizona in the desert, so you keep your canteen close with a lot of water. I drink coffee, and I drink iced tea, and made famous by the famous golfer Arnold Palmer is the Arnold Palmer, which is a combination of iced tea and lemonade. So you get the caffeine kick from the tea, but you also get a little sweet flavor, to get the dust off your taste buds with the lemonade. So really, I guess 4 drinks, lemonade, iced tea, water, and coffee. Those are my drinks, pretty much anywhere I go around the world. We did a coffee event in my hometown of Jackson, Minnesota back in November 2017.
Okay.
And Hydra Beer, who are from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, literally 75 miles or so to the west of Jackson, straight down I-90, Interstate I-90. They approached us about infusing our coffee into their beer to create this coffee stout. And, the craft beer business, which, I'm around somewhat because of the Megadeth beer.
Right.
And certainly Iron Maiden kind of brought the whole idea forward with the Trooper beer. I remember we were actually on the Iron Maiden in 2013, I believe it was. They did 7 shows across the United States. That was their entire U.S. tour. And Megadeth, we were the support on that. So it was Megadeth, Iron Maiden, and that was the year they had rolled out the Trooper beer. So really got to be right there on the downbeat of how cool that was, that they were doing that. And of course, Iron Maiden, their whole thing is they're British, hanging at the pub, darts, heavy metal. I mean, very, really a great tie-in of their lifestyle and just who they are. So, then of course a couple years ago, Megadeth rolled out the Ellefson beer. So, I've been around it. Even though I don't drink the product, I've been around it. But so when Hydra came to us and asked us about the coffee stout, I know that that's also a new kind of the next frontier of the craft beer movement is infusing coffee. And so I said, look, it's not a product I'm going to drink because of the alcohol component, but I'm honored that you would ask us about our coffee. We love our coffee, and they chose Urban Legend, which is actually a coffee that we have that's tied into that regional area because of the song Mary Jane, made famous by the song Mary Jane with Megadeth, but it ties back to the folklore of Mary Jane Twilliger, buried in the Moon Lake Cemetery, purportedly a witch buried alive by her father, as the folklore goes.
Wow. So,
the tie-in to that whole area with Urban Legend, Ellefson Coffee, my hometown, down the road at Jackson, really just kind of, to me, it was just such a cool story,
Yeah.
And so to me, as much of it is, it's funny, in being in the coffee business, we're infusing coffee into raw organic vegan cheesecakes and organic, biscottis with Sarah's Organic Gourmet out in Los Angeles. So, it's funny, coffee has kind of put me now in the middle of the food and beverage business in a very cool way. And, it's kind of like being the bass player, if you need bass, call me. I can bring the bass ingredient,
Right.
There could be a guitar player, and a drummer, and a songwriter, and a singer, and I'll just show up and play the bass. So it's kind of the same thing with coffee. I'll bring the coffee, and you guys can bring the rest of the ingredients.
Awesome. That's great, man. So you're celebrating 35 years with Megadeth this year. Right now, fans, they can go onto the Megadeth site and see the awesome video for Lying in State from Dystopia. Will fans get a new Megadeth album this year to celebrate the anniversary, or we have to wait?
No, I don't. We're working on that. I mean, that was always our initiative. I mean, we hit it really hard the last couple of years, promoting Dystopia and doing the Dystopia World Tour. Yeah, and it was great that we had the Lion State video that we actually filmed in Brazil on the final couple weeks back in October, November. It was actually late October when we filmed it in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And so it was nice to be able to sort of have that in the can ready as we now roll out and celebrate an album, sometimes 2 albums per month now as we roll through the year of 2018 as part of the 35 years of Megadeth celebration. And then to kick it off in January, Downbeat, Dystopia, which came out in January 2016, and have a new video there available for that. But yeah, I mean, we're working on material, and we learned from Dystopia that just take our time. Make it. There's no hurry. I mean, we've got this year pretty much covered. We've got some great festival touring in Europe through June and July. We got a date with the Scorpions down in Tijuana, Hell in Heaven Fest in Mexico City a few days later on Cinco de Mayo, ironically. Nice. So, we've got, there's talk of more things later in the year. So, there's enough stuff going on that, we can, let the album come to us rather than go chase after it, Right. And I think that's important, especially as a follow-up to Dystopia, we really, we don't have to try to cram an album in the schedule to keep the tour going, I think at this point the phone's going to ring for more stuff all the time, so we can really just make sure that the next record is something really special.
Awesome. Yeah, the Dystopia album was fantastic. It seemed like you guys had reignited with a lot of fire and fury. It kind of reminded me of in parts of Rust in Peace and Euthanasia and Endgame. Do you think the new music you guys are working on, the ideas you got right now, are gonna kind of capitalize on that wave of enthusiasm from Dystopia?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, Dystopia was a pretty critical album because, we're a diverse band. We've got a lot of musical ability in the band, always have through all of our years.
Yeah.
The songwriting is more than just a one-trick pony. And so as much as that's a blessing, sometimes, you have to really be focused that you keep that focus too, that it doesn't get too wide, because fans, when it says Megadeth on the cover, they expect a certain sound from it. And when you start to open that up a little wider and take your fans on the musical journey with you, it's a very precarious journey, because, as musicians, we all have more than just one sound inside of us. Yet, as a band and as a brand, and, when your fans come to know you for a certain style, you just have to be careful that, how you sort of deviate away from that. And we've done that a lot over the years, especially through the 90s, we did a lot of that. So, in some way, fans, I think, have, come to expect the unexpected from us, which is cool now. But I think Dystopia really was, you've got everything from Lying in State, which is fully shredding, to Dystopia, which is more of a kind of a mainstream, almost, dare I say, kind of a radio song. And then you've got something like Poisonous Shadows, which is a big haunting ballad, so we kind of covered all of it on Dystopia.
Yeah. So Megadeth's new drummer, Dirk Verbeuren, has his own patented rhythmic pattern called the Dirk Blast. Will you guys be incorporating the Dirk Blast into some new tunes?
It's exciting to look into this next record with Dirk, because we've written records in so many different fashions, and I think to have the skills and the ability of Dirk. The thing that we found with him just over the last couple of years of him in the band is you can put anything in front of the guy and play it, which is great. He's a skilled musician. He's a schooled musician. He can write out his musical thoughts in a drum chart, which is great. And so it's just really, and same with Kiko. I mean, Kiko is a guy who, hears something once or twice and can pretty much just play it back note for note. And so his skill level is incredible too. So it's, and Dave and I just kind of fundamentally know the sort of the intrinsic fabric of what Megadeth is. And I think that's probably one of my funnest moments is when we were recording bass on Dystopia, Dave and I just sitting there just going, hey, this is kind of like the Bad Omen part right here. This is sort of like the My Last Words part. And we're kind of, Dystopia is, it's new material, we're sort of referencing, years, 30 years ago kind of stuff. Right? Oh, remember that time in Black Friday when we went up, we did this little party, let's do one of those kind of things. And so our musical friendship, is over, we're in our fourth decade now, so it's just kind of cool how we've got all these different, sort of musical references. And I mean, speaking to, your question on Dirk, I mean, geez, it's like, bring it all, man. I mean, let's bring it. Don't leave anything at home. Bring it all. And so that's our attitude with the new record.
Awesome. So, Metal Allegiance 2 is promised, I think this summer. How do you think that music stacks up against the first album you guys did?
I think it's really a nice step forward. It's one thing to get together and fire off a first record because there's just a lot of fun and friendship and enthusiasm. And, second records tend to go, kind of, you try to go maybe a little deeper with them on some level. And yet, like we talked about just a minute ago, being exploratory, you know what I mean? Right. It's like, are we just a one-trick pony, or do we have more here? And if we do, how wide do we want to go with that, And, look, the Metal Allegiance guys, we're buddies, we're friends. And I think what's an interesting dynamic with that is that we all do something very well and very specific in our own bands. Or in Mike Portnoy's case, in 20 different bands. But Mike is a very, he's a beloved, progressive prog rock drummer. Yet Mike can do a whole bunch of other things too, and which he showcases in all these other bands that he's in. And same with Alex. Alex is as known now as a jazz instrumentalist as he is for the shredding guitar god of Testament. Right. So. We all bring these different things to the table, and so it's interesting how maybe I'll bring a riff in, and when it goes to Alex's interpretation, he usually adds notes. He likes a lot of notes, and he'll add things and twist things around and add a couple different note choices that I would have never thought of. And suddenly it's now, now it's a Metal Allegiance riff, and I'm fine with that. I mean, that's how I've always been. I like collaboration for me, sometimes you write something and you very deliberate, hey, I want it to be this way, but I like the collaboration. I like to bring a bunch of different ideas in and just let it sort of go through the group, kind of the group conscience, the group interpretation of it, and let it come out as being something that we can say we rather than me.
Yeah. So in addition to everything else that you've got going on, I read that your project with Frank Bello, Altitudes and Attitudes, will release their full. You're going to have the full-length album out this year. Do you think that is the new music that's coming out? Will that be in line with the EP you guys did in 2014?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. And it's funny, these schedules are always just a little bit subject to change, based on obviously what Anthrax or Megadeth are doing in that particular case. And, again, like Metal Allegiance, it's a fun thing we do in addition to what we do in Megadeth and Anthrax. It's not something ever meant to get in the way. So obviously scheduling it so it gets its recognition and it gets its due. Yet, is something that has its sort of, its rightful spot is important on that, but yeah, as far as the creation of that, it's something we've worked on just over the last 3 years since we put that EP out. I mean, we realized is that not only do we have a lot of fun doing it, but it was received very well, and people were saying, "Wow, I'd love to hear more of this." So, you know, as Frank and I would be in LA either for a NAMM show, or you know, sometimes Frank would actually fly from New York out to LA, and we'd meet with our producer Jay Rustin, and we would just get together sometimes 2, 3, 4 days at a whack and cut tracks with Jeff Friedel on drums when he was available and not working with Maynard. And it just became one of these really just a fun, complete departure from anything we do, because it's not a thrash metal record, and it's not meant to be a shredder record. It's a real, you know, songwriter kind of record, you know, and got some cool guests who were very, you know, gracious about, you know, participating on it with us. And so, yeah, I look forward to everybody hearing that, because that's that thing that's very much, you know, something way out of the normal wheelhouse of a metal record.
Yeah, something fun and different, which is always good.
Yeah.
So Slayer's retirement has kind of reverberated through the metal community. Have you talked with those guys since they made their announcement?
I haven't. I mean, I talked with Gary Holtz, but you know, he, you know, like he said, he goes, "Look, you know, it's not my place to talk about anything," which I understand. You know, I mean, if it was Exodus, I'd talk to Gary. You know, no, I have not talked to Kerry or Tom, only because we're just, you know, haven't been on the, you know, our paths haven't crossed here. But I certainly intend to. You know, that's what's going on. But you know. Look, they've, you know, had an incredible run at it, and, you know, you know, I think, look, it brings to mind a couple things. Number one, you know, even in your own life, I go, okay, well, it's important I stay healthy. It's important I stay fit. And it's important that, you know, we enjoy doing what we're doing, and you know, and again, I don't know their reasoning for retiring, but you know, look, they've had an incredible run. They've kind of invented their own little sort of subgenre within, you know, within the thrash genre. And, you know, I kind of always go to the big four, if you will. The four biggest kind of more well-known, famous groups for doing this. They certainly have their own pillar, you know, their own corner of the ring, you know. So, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of musical output, a lot of touring. I mean, those guys are freaking road warriors, you know. So, you know, if they want to wind it down, hey, you know, you know, wind her down, you know. But they're certainly winding it down big, which is great, as it deserves to be. You know?
Yeah, that is awesome. Speaking of the big four, do you think there's any chance for you guys to do a show or something like that?
Well,
it's part of that wrap up.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it would be awesome. I mean, that's, you know, is, you know, it's a collective decision, and it's, you know, largely driven by Metallica, you know. But look, I mean, they were gracious enough to do it in the first place. So if we don't get to do it again, hey, we've always got those memories of that live album and DVD and everything that went with it. I mean, that was amazing. If we never get to do it again, just to have done that, just even for those couple of years, was just incredible. You know, not just for us as you know, sort of brothers in the genre, but you know, for the fans. I mean, what a
I know.
What a cool moment to have. And because I always, you know, I always go back to, and I don't think there's any genre, either past or present, that has four really key sort of founding fathers of it, if you will, who are still active and out, you know, productively making new music and touring. I mean, the grunge genre doesn't. I mean, you know, I mean, out of that genre, it's kind of just Pearl Jam, and obviously Dave Grohl has moved on. Ellefson Chains are still around, so, you know, again, still not poor. You know, even the jam band genre, I mean, the Dead is kind of this collection of the community, you know. The Southern rock genre, I mean, you know, now that Greg Allman has passed, and you know what I mean? So it's just weird, you know, I can't really think of you know, even jazz, I just go through all the genres, and I can't really think of any, you know, real defining groups of a particular genre that could do what we did with the Big Four. And I mean, that just makes it even all the more special, especially that it comes from thrash metal. I mean, a genre they probably everyone thought would never last, would never do anything of any significance, and then we become the one that kind of gets to go ring the bell at the end of the day.
Yeah, it is awesome because I'm a huge thrash fan, and I love all the music you guys have made. So it's an honor. Hey, Dave, I just got one last question for you. What do you like to eat for breakfast?
Good question. It's funny. I just changed that very recently. Back in when I was 25 years old, in 1990, I really went on a health kick. It's when I changed my lifestyle dramatically, and we were recording and then touring Rust in Peace. So I really got on a health kick, and it's funny, just this year, coming off of the Dystopia tour, I went in and I tightened up my diet and workout. In fact, I'm on a pretty heavy workout regimen right now, and then sort of a new health plan. The health plan of a 50-year-old thrash metal veteran rather than the health plan of a 25-year-old, thrash dude, But so it's funny. I eat, as boring as it may sound, I eat steel cut oatmeal with some type of nuts and berries. And then I eat. I always have coffee, and I just have coffee now with a couple of ice cubes in it. No more cream, which I used to drink. So that's that. And then I also make a shake that has like everything from flaxseed and either spinach and kale. And, so like I have this Udo's oil, which is kind of like a
get the omega-3s and 6.
Yeah, omega, exactly. I see, and some wheatgrass and glucosamine or glutamine, I guess, and then a pretty, healthy run of vitamins, man. So awesome. I'm like a walking Whole Foods or Sprouts, health food store, And but really, it's kind of just part of a bigger plan, to just really, take care of my health. I mean, in my family, there's heart disease and everything. The good old healthy Midwest diet that I grew up with.
Yeah, meat and cheese.
If I'm gonna survive my 50s and enjoy my 60s and hopefully my 70s and beyond, I now is kind of this is the decade where I got to tighten it up. So I am,
Awesome.
I feel great. I want to be on stage kicking ass, feeling good, looking good. I don't want to be old and decrepit and tired feeling when I'm up there.
Hell yeah.
50s are the new 30s. I certainly don't feel 53. So in my heart, I still feel like I'm 20. So I want my health to be rocking and kicking ass for the next bunch of years ahead.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I definitely want that for you too, man. Hey, I really appreciate you talking with us.
Cool. Yes, you're welcome, man. Good way to start the day. I appreciate it.
All right, take it easy.
Yeah.
Bye.